The AmeriCorps program at Peckham really wants to share some interesting things with you. Members have gathered here at this table to talk about their experiences. We want to share experiences of how AmeriCorps has affected people and influenced their career, correct? Is that what we're going for? Influencing your career? Maybe it had an impact in your life in a certain way that you would like to share with us, or the crowd. The crowd would be you. Whoever is out there watching this, who's come to our website to check this out, you now get an inside view about AmeriCorps at Peckham and how awesome it could be for you as a potential applicant member of this national service program. But let's introduce you all. Or you can just go around and we can talk about what you do, your position really quick, your name, and what you do here at Peckham. So we could start maybe.
I'm Alex Modlin. I'm the manager of workforce planning. So I oversee the team that does the recruiting for all 5 of Peckham's business lines.
So I am Jesse Wheeler. I am a vocational services admin. I handle quite a variety of responsibilities, but my biggest one as of right now is running and facilitating and setting up our new hire orientations.
I'm Malia Gust. I'm a vocational training specialist. I work with clients who have barriers to employment or disability related to employment. And I help with enrichment classes and new hire orientation throughout their vocational program at Peckham.
I'm Kat Thompson. I am a supervisor coach supporting our business services line of business. So I work with our frontline supervisors to help provide them with skills to be more successful.
I'm Reese Burton. I'm a vocational training specialist here at the Greenhouse. I specifically work with new hires in their first 90 to 180 days of their training program and get them prepared for their long-term vocational planning.
I am James Modaski. I am I said that before, but I'm the program manager for AmeriCorps at Peckham. First question here for you. Anyone can take this question if they want. This doesn't have to go in order. I think to go in order might be weird. So, I don't know, Reese, Kat, somebody, anyone feel free to jump in and say, what attracted you to serve in AmeriCorps at Peckham initially? And you could even mention your program, since everyone here served much different times and with even a different program in Alex's case.
So I started serving in 2018, and I heard about Peckham through a fellow student at my college, and she kind of spoke at a seminar at one of our weekly departmental meetings, and she kind of talked about how AmeriCorps is about serving individuals who need extra support, and there was a lot of focus on volunteering. And it was also an opportunity to kind of get our feet wet in the world of human services. And I saw it as a good opportunity to kind of explore what it is that I wanted to do as a professional. And it was a good opportunity to jump into something new that I'd never tried before.
Cool.
I served in 2017, and I previously came from a financial institution, so I was looking for a place to kind of utilize those skills but transition into more of a human services, community service type of capacity. And AmeriCorps offered that as a financial literacy coach program.
That's right. Great. All these people were really good members. Just want to say that. Only the best made it in this video.
Yeah.
I served 2017, fall 2017 into 2018 in the youth services department, and what attracted me to AmeriCorps specifically at Peckham was, I was looking for a job after college, and I had heard about AmeriCorps being local to where I grew up, and so I saw the Peckham's right down the road from where I grew up, so I looked on the website and I came across the program, and I decided to apply, and then James reached out to me.
Yeah, that happened.
So I actually came from a completely unrelated field as far as work experience goes. Before I came here, I actually was in the post-production video editing field. Unfortunately, I was being phased out of my previous employment right around the same time that the COVID pandemic happened. So I was kind of in a very difficult position of trying to find a line of work while also keeping very vulnerable people in my family safe from COVID. It was kind of a struggle. I have a family member who worked here, who introduced me to the AmeriCorps program. And she thought it'd be a great opportunity, especially for the fact that it being a national program, it came with some certain benefits, such as the student loan deferment that is included with it.
Right, that's right.
And so with my student loans, it's basically the same expense as having a full-time job. So I'm like, okay, let's get right on board with that, because it's a lot of money. So I was like all for it. And the very nice thing about the program is that it really aligned with a lot of personal beliefs that I have. So I was really eager to become part of this.
So I served for 2 years, starting in 2011, and I was in a different program. I was in the federal program. So my supervisor, my director, was in Wichita, and then I had an on-site supervisor.
Wichita, Kansas.
Yes. Thanks for clarifying that. I was attracted to AmeriCorps because when I graduated from MSU was when the recession hit, and I couldn't find a job. And my ex-husband did a tour of Peckham with his one of his classes at MSU because Duncan Wyeth, who is on our board, was his professor. They came here, and Stacy who was my supervisor, on-site supervisor, did the tour, and she mentioned AmeriCorps, and he was like, we just went to this great place, it's called Peckham, and was like talking about all this stuff, and they're looking for AmeriCorps members. So I was like, I don't even know what AmeriCorps is, so I looked into that, and I saw like the your student loans get paused or deferred, and you get, the education reimbursement, things like that. So I applied, and here I am.
Yes, so Peckham used to have a national program. We're an AmeriCorps state program. And so you were part of the national program, which is cool. And many other people, they're now gone, but not you. You're still here managing workforce planning.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Random question from outside the ring.
Good.
How many in the greater Lansing area, are there a lot of AmeriCorps opportunities?
Yes, in the greater Lansing area, there's a lot of AmeriCorps opportunities. There's 5 other programs in the mid-Michigan area that you could enroll with. Well, 4 other. There's 5 total. And some of them are state positions where they're located here, but they have members placed throughout the state. And then others are like us, where we have members that are either a part of the organization or within the community itself. So we're unique. Peckham is a unique program. It's one of the only programs that has all of its members. So there's 14 member slots that you could fill each year, and we have them all in house. So you could serve in Flint, in Charlotte, Michigan, in Lansing. Those are the 3 locations that people can serve out of, but at different buildings and all throughout. Peckham has, I don't know, geez. How many locations do we have? So
13?
Yeah, I believe it's 13 or 14.
13 or 14. And all those can be reached or touched by AmeriCorps members remotely, and have been. So whether you have, if you're working in Kentucky or you've served with,
Phoenix, Arizona?
Phoenix, Battle Creek, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how far away from Lansing you are. There's still an opportunity that you could still come in contact with a AmeriCorps member and get, use our services. So, which is financial literacy coaching and employability skills coaching. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, actually, which might be important to say what the program actually does. So an AmeriCorps member at Peckham is going to work with our team members. So that our actual line of business is vocational rehab, and what we do mainly is work with people with disabilities. There's other folks we work with, job seekers in the community that may be in community work programs, refugees. So there's a thread that goes through the program of folks that maybe are looking to expand on their skills and opportunities as they move forward in their life and in their career. And so we're trying to help with that by helping with budgeting or whatever we might do, making a resume, teaching someone how to have interview skills, self-management skills, customer service skills, stress management, managing their credit. It could be a number of different things. And our primary partners are Cafe Air United Way. They help with tax preparation. We offer that service as well. And also MSU FCU, which is our primary partner and is closely aligned with Peckham in many, I don't know, is it like business initiatives? So it's a nonprofit. So not credit union being nonprofit serves sort of the same mission. But yeah, so there's other places you could go to in the Lansing area to be an AmeriCorps member. Peckham is one of many. They're all really good, and but we're here to talk about Peckham. So you tell us just kind of like what characterized your AmeriCorps experience or what it was like, and we know why it ended up being good for you and why you were attracted to it or how you heard about it, but like what was it like when you were here?
So I'm going to be totally honest. I feel like I'm going to have, I think I had a different experience than the rest of you because I joined right in the middle of the pandemic.
Indeed.
So it was interesting for the beginning because, with the state of the entire world, I was basically doing all of this from home. So I didn't have the standard, hey, come and meet everybody,
Yes.
doing everything virtual. So it was interesting for the start of it because I was kind of doing this and not really getting an opportunity to know everybody. But once everything cleared up and I actually started coming in person and interacting with everybody directly, I pretty much fell in love with the place. So for me, one of my biggest things when it comes to jobs, employment, community service, I have a big focus on the people. And for me, all the people that I dealt with here, that's what really made it for me, and that's why I chose to stay here after my AmeriCorps service was done.
Yeah, so anyone else want to add to that?
I mean, I would say the same thing. Like I didn't know anything about Peckham before I started serving, but the clients that I was supporting, and just what Peckham is doing in general for our community. Same thing. I fell in love with being here and being in the environment. We talked last time where there's still team members from when I was in AmeriCorps that will come up to me and ask me questions that aren't AmeriCorps specific because you just get to build that connection and learn different skills because you're having to learn, you're given, this is the information that you need to teach these people, but you have to figure out kind of like, okay, so Reese has a different learning style than Kat. So how do I make that adjustment but still get the same information out to the individual? And I just really enjoyed that. I ended up serving in AmeriCorps for 2 years. So
I will say that training aspect was very key for me. And I think what ultimately brought me back to Peckham in general was there was this centered idea with AmeriCorps that focused on teaching somebody how to do something for themselves.
Yeah.
And we don't just see that in classroom settings when we're all going through school. We do it as we kind of learn through life. And you get the opportunity to work with somebody who, hasn't set up a budget for themselves before, or they haven't applied to a job formally before. And you're not just working with this person so they could be successful the one time, but you can work with this person so they can be successful time and time again after you're finished with them. And that training aspect is really key to why I enjoyed my experience, because it's all about learning. And I really like to center myself around learning new things myself, but also teaching people that information as I gather it, which AmeriCorps is exactly that. So that was kind of what I really took away, and and I get to do a lot of that still in my role now, which is kind of cool that I get to be like an AmeriCorps plus member.
So not only that, but I actually found out it helped me learn some things too. And I was kind of in the exact same situation where, especially with me going through school, it was about 2 years after I graduated from college that I became part of AmeriCorps. All through my school, there were things that I didn't learn myself that I learned through AmeriCorps. Biggest one for me was the whole tax season. That was a huge part of it. That was something I knew nothing about, even though I was, really good with math in school. That was my forte. But I never learned it. I always used like a third-party website to do my own. But once I started doing it for other people and understanding how it worked, now I'm like super good at it, and I'm totally psyched about that.
Tax is an intense time. It's
Right.
like 10 weeks. It's pretty intensive. There's a lot of clients that need help. It's very difficult. You have to become certified. It's an accomplishment. And then when you do it, it's a team effort, and it really needs to be coordinated well. And I was just going to say that, Alex, you have done a great job for 6 years coordinating the tax team, and now you no longer do that. But so thanks. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyone else want to add to that? You don't have to.
I wanted to add to that, in addition to kind of like the training experience and public speaking and building relationships, I really appreciated the opportunity to go downtown and see the places where our clients are actually working and really get to know what their work environments look like, what kinds of things they encounter on a day-to-day basis. That information has really helped to serve me in my role now, is knowing so much more about the organization.
Yeah. Cool. You don't have to if you don't want to.
I was going to say, so I served in the youth services department. So I did not serve with adult clients, but I did serve with youth clients here at our main Peckham location, the greenhouse, and my site supervisor was Amanda Garza, and I was welcomed. Like, it was a great experience. I was very welcomed, and it was working with the youth, serving with the youth, being able to introduce youth to what is a bank account, what does that mean, where we were able to partner with MSU Financial Credit Union, and they would come in and give talks, and then we would apply online to have their first bank account, and then the youth would work out on the Peckham work floor, and when their first paychecks would come, they'd be, Miss Malia, I got my first check. Yeah. And then they would go buy a bunch of candy. But, different things. So teaching those budgeting skills, and we focused a lot on financial literacy, which was very also important for me. And I really took a lot away from the youth services department, and I was interested in exploring the other avenues that Peckham has that led me to applying for different staff positions and different staff locations. So I think that what I really took away from it was just being able to be open and honest with meeting your client where they're at, and also being there for that aha light bulb moment when they realized that their dream car of a Lamborghini was going to take a couple more years to achieve, and learning that the different avenues that they could go in their future career path, or whether they chose to stay with Peckham or not.
Yeah. So then, but aha moments also happen for you too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the best part about coaching or teaching is that you're like you learn things.
You learn things, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you learn a lot.
And I ended up becoming a member of MSU Federal Credit Union.
Okay, so let me think. I have my questions written down here, but I have to think about what I want to say next. I don't want them all. How about let's just I got a couple more for you. So let's say this. Let's say this one. So we know what attracted you here. We know what your service was like and how what you experienced. And then what would you say, maybe expound on it a little bit more, because this could be kind of the same question, but I think it's different, is how did the actual program or your experience in it contribute to your career path that you're on now? Maybe anything that you might look back on that you say, there's some inflection point or something that made, just anything that might have influenced what you're doing now. I think you kind of touched some on that, Reese, when you were answering the other question, and there's some overlap there, but if anyone wants to add to that, they can, and that'd be great. So,
Well, I feel like for a lot of us here, it was our touch point to come back to Peckham because all of us served in AmeriCorps through Peckham. So it was kind of that line for us when we wanted to rediscover our professional path, that, hey, we have shown that we have some level of professional experience in this field and working with certain clientele, and that it was kind of like a prep to Peckham and our specific clientele, whether it was with youth or people with barriers to employment, or maybe they had disability. It was a good talking point for any of us who might have applied to positions here at Peckham or outside of Peckham in human services, because not a lot of people know what AmeriCorps is. I certainly didn't before I served, and I know a lot of you guys didn't either. And so it almost allows for an opportunity to expound on your experience even more, because people go, what is this AmeriCorps? I've never heard of this before. And it gives you the opportunity to say, well, I had this really good experience where I got to volunteer and train people on things, relevant life skills.
Yeah.
Not just,
one of the reasons we're sitting here is because you become an ambassador to the program is what happens, and even amongst your coworkers now. Mm-hmm. So they don't know what AmeriCorps is. So who knows what AmeriCorps is? Even people that work here don't know sometimes, and you can become like a great, I don't know, an ambassador to the program. So.
And I know for me too, like a lot of people make their transition from AmeriCorps, straight into employment with whoever they serve with. So with Peckham, I know a lot of us transitioned right into our next position after AmeriCorps. And for me, I had a couple years where I wanted to finish school. I wanted to try some other things out. And I realized that small bit of, working with people one-on-one, doing those classes that we do, teaching those important life skills is really what I wanted to jump back into. And because I already had that experience with AmeriCorps through Peckham, I kind of had a line that I could tug on when I decided that I was going to come back.
Cool. Anyone else want to add to that, or?
Yeah, I feel like it offered an opportunity to have kind of an introductory to case management.
Sure.
Because keeping really good case notes that you can refer back to was part of the role, and making sure that the case notes and things that you're recording are goal oriented. Like, what is that person working on? What is the progress that they've made? Is super helpful in any human services position here.
It really is. There should be a goal, but you can be lost sometimes, in the day to day. So it helps. I agree.
So I think for me, the biggest reason why I decided to apply, I really enjoyed my AmeriCorps experience at Peckham, and I think the biggest reason for me wasn't necessarily about professional growth, so it's a little bit different than others, but I really liked Peckham's core values and how I was treated as a person that mattered. For me, my AmeriCorps experience, the beginning was a little bumpy. I wasn't even a month in, maybe barely a month in, and I was in a really bad car accident, and I was taken by scene at the by an ambulance, and Peckham, my site supervisor, youth services, individuals outside of youth services, and James were very, yes, James Modaski, were very supportive, and they're like, anything that you need, any help, like, we're here for you. I was worried I was gonna lose my job, and then not even after having the accident, I had another car, and I went into the ditch because the tires were bald, and I'm calling my site supervisor just in tears, like, I'm so sorry, I'm coming in to serve, I will be there. And I was able to meet with the youth clients, and I fell in love with the company. And so I was really interested in staying, but there wasn't a lot of open positions at the time that I didn't necessarily feel I was qualified for. I had spent a whole year serving, teaching people about interview skills and resumes and cover letters. And I was like, well, I don't even know if mine's that great, but I applied, and
I think everyone thinks that when they look at it.
I applied, and I ended up in the Charlotte location and learned about the manufacturing line of business, and then I went back to youth services, and now I'm back in manufacturing. So
Yes.
Something I don't know if you want to include this, but I feel like something that really always stood out to me about you, Malia, is your enthusiasm. And you always brought like fun to the program.
Yes.
You made so many games with the
forgot about
youth.
I will say this: if I'm being real in the video here, dude, that's what I say. My God, what do you call it? So Kathleen and Kat and Malia, it was like a super enthusiastic group. It might have been the best.
Were you all on the same?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, and then
okay.
Reese came right
Halfway.
at the halfway.
Okay.
Came, in
Yeah,
March. Yeah, that's right.
I think we had a lot of fun,
was
and
a great year.
when we had our monthly, what are they called? Our site meetings. Or,
All AmeriCorps team
Oh.
meeting.
We just had a lot of fun, and we were able to bond. And then the few of us that were in that group ended up going straight into staff positions towards the end of our service year. And a couple were at the greenhouse. I was in Charlotte. So we were able to have that network of people that we had been serving with for a year. And now we're like, oh, gee, we're staff now. It's so cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was interesting to see how many people were in an AmeriCorps program like prior when coming back to Peckham. And it was also very interesting when we had those meetings because I was also coming from Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I was on the Camwa side of
Yes.
the building. And we would all come together, and it was kind of like surreal seeing how many people were a part of this team that we had. And I always knew like how much that I was like contributing, but then it was cool to like kind of see like our numbers and like how many people we truly were serving. I was like, wow, we really like helped out that many people.
Yeah.
So that was always really cool too.
Yeah, whenever you have a full team, you can do a lot. Well, I mean, everyone has to work really hard, but serve really hard. But you can do a lot when you have a full team. Anything you want to add to this?
Yes, but could you just repeat the question
Yeah,
first?
I was going to say, I remember what the question was.
Yes. So the question originally here was, before these three were adding, it was, how do you feel that how did AmeriCorps Peckham like contribute to shaping your career? And if there's any thing you can look back on where you maybe one moment or even the impressions you had throughout the year of service, like what did it shape your career in that way? Or
Say so.
Yeah.
I'll repeat that because that first word was very silent. But yeah, I would definitely say so. So something that I've noticed is that a lot of the things that comes with like all the coachings through AmeriCorps, as far as the mood of everything, it's very similar to other. I almost want to say like every single like job or position that's here at Peckham. And by that, I mean, I've seen it all the time at the location that I'm at, where every single staff member, regardless of like area or level of authority, if there's a team member there that's in trouble or has questions or just has any sort of concern whatsoever, that person's going to be there to like help answer those questions and stuff. And that's pretty much everybody. So, it was similar to what happened in AmeriCorps. I had that happen. Somebody came to me with like financial employability concerns, whatever they may be. Some people were pretty emotional about it because they were in a situation where they were worried about it. And I was there to, help assist them and help them regain that confidence.
Feel better.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that I still go through, even in this new position. As I mentioned, I do a lot with new hire orientations. So there's still a coaching aspect where I'm teaching people about Peckham, everything involved, helping them get to know the place and feel excited to be here. There was one incident that I want to share about that where I did have somebody who came to me midway through the week who was pretty emotional because she was feeling overwhelmed about being in a new environment. She was kind of scared that she wouldn't be able to do the work that was involved. And I just took her aside one by one. I sat down, I talked with her, and I was able to, calm her down, get her feeling good again. And then a couple months ago, she became Team Member of the Month. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's amazing.
So I think above all else, I feel like the stuff that happens in AmeriCorps, as far as there's got to be a different word for mood, but as far as the actions that are involved with AmeriCorps, I feel like all of those are easily transferable into other roles.
Yeah, good. I would hope that's the case. That's great. Sounds good. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
So for me, my education, any kind of work history prior to AmeriCorps was not human services, social work, any of that. That wasn't really on my radar. My master's degree is in public administration. I guess that's the closest that I would get to nonprofit, but that's not even on the human services side. So with my AmeriCorps program, you were working with clients every day, and it helped me to just realize how much I enjoy that, building those connections and helping people, and then seeing the successes because of the things that you were helping them to understand. And then obviously, I've been with Peckham for this coming year will be 10 years, and as a staff member, so. I just really like the environment. I like the people that we work with. We have a good time for sure. So it makes it a little bit easier. When you were talking about case management, so all of the things that all of you have to do in the state program are different than what I had to do on the federal level. You have like 4 different systems or something that you have to. 3 systems, okay, that you have to like document stuff. We didn't have that. It was just like my second year, I was the team lead for our national team. So I was collecting all the data from all of our sites, like as far as like where we served, what we served, what was the, content and things like that. And then I was using Access to send all of that to her. We didn't have
Microsoft Access?
Yeah, we didn't have like all of the fancy schmancy stuff that you have now. Like we didn't have to do great stories and things like that.
Fancy.
Well, we didn't have there was no like great stories thing. It was just like like a here's the numbers kind of thing. Which I think that piece is important because then you get to reflect like, oh, I helped this person. Maybe they were upset when they were in the meeting with me, but now they're successful and they're using those skills, and you get to reflect on that instead of like, okay, check off that number. We met our metrics for the quarter or whatever. So just a little bit more meaning, I think, probably with that piece too.
Okay, so I guess we'll transition towards the end of this, which might be, this conversation would be like, so what would you say to a prospective AmeriCorps member should they want to, serve at Peckham?
Do it.
You'd say do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great experience, great opportunity. You get to, I think Reese mentioned this, but it's sort of, and you might have too, it's almost like you get to interview the site, right, for a year.
Like
because
you get to interview
you as the
Peckham.
AmeriCorps member, like, is this somewhere that I could see myself staying long term?
Yeah.
And you get used to what the culture and the environment is like. And, for some people, it's not going to be the right place, but you get to figure that out.
Right.
And learn some things along the way, and then
And even if it wasn't the right place, you could still take the things you learn and
Yeah, absolutely.
apply it
Yeah.
somewhere else,
Yeah.
and it should still be hopefully a enriching experience at the very least.
Yeah, I think all of us said we learned a lot of things about ourselves, about serving other people. So it's definitely a great opportunity.
Yeah, I would wonder, like, maybe you guys can comment on this. Like, I would think that a AmeriCorps year might be even like a year of reflection almost, because it's not exactly easy.
Right.
You get in car accidents, you have crises happen. You're not making a lot of money because you're making, the living allowance isn't like a wage, it's service. It's a service, but it's service learning. So, I mean, is there...
I would say it was definitely a growth year for me personally. I learned a lot about myself professionally. I learned that I wanted to take a step away from youth and work with adults, and then I went back to youth, and now I'm back working with adults. I think that it's definitely an opportunity of growth for you both professionally, emotionally, mentally. I think it's a good, I didn't serve full term. Half-time.
Yes.
Half-time. To
Like
serve
football.
half-time, and I had other opportunities where I was volunteering and exploring other avenues of employment. So for me, I was able to really take a lot away from it. I also really enjoyed going to the Michigan's
The celebration?
the celebration.
Yes, we have a conference-style event for AmeriCorps members that all the Michigan AmeriCorps members come to. It's like 600, 700 members if it's it depends on how many programs are going on in Michigan at the time. But yeah, every year it kind of changes. But yes, big event, kind of fun.
Yeah,
we have lots of pictures from that, by the way.
It was a great networking opportunity, and for the AmeriCorps members that served in the same year that I did, well, some of them are still here, but I still touch base with some of those people. So I was able to make lasting friends. friendships.
I just wanted to add, during my year, I had the opportunity to be the Leader Corps member for our group too. And that was a really unique and fun opportunity to connect with more AmeriCorps people throughout Michigan and learn maybe what some of their challenges were in their programs, and we could kind of brainstorm on how we could expand our outreach or improve our skills. And I also made a lot of Amera friendships.
So I will say one aspect that people should really look into is whether or not they're going to school at a school that is a matching institution.
Yes, that's right.
I was lucky enough to go to a college that was able to one-to-one match my education award. And so I was able to essentially double my output of financial backing, or however you want to look at it, for my schooling, which was another incentive for me to finish my program, go throughout the entire year commitment. And it kind of helped me financially moving forward when I finished my education, because I had that much more of my loans paid off as a result of that service. In addition to my service, because it is not traditional employment, I was also able to get that living stipend that we were all able to benefit from, but also utilize my experience as internship, which a lot of college programs don't like you to use work as internship experience. They want you to do something that's unpaid. And AmeriCorps kind of lines in that unique area where you can still earn a wage where you can take care of your basic daily needs while you're going through school, but also double dip into professional experience through internship. So I was able to get credits, scholarship, and a living stipend while I went through my AmeriCorps program, which was really cool.
Right. I think I was referring to this. I remember you telling me about this before, and I was thinking of it as a triple dip. You had So you get the service learning experience at Peckham, you get your AmeriCorps year, you get to also count your internship hours, and you get the education award. But then the education award gets doubled because you went to a matching institution. Olivet College was a matching institution. Some of them are, some of them aren't. You have to check with your advisor probably at your school. Yeah. So a great opportunity for students because you did it while still in school. And half-time and quarter-time positions are really good for that. So.
And it wasn't difficult either. Like, it was like a simple, like, one-page form, and I filled it out, and then spoke to one of my student advisors there, and they just said, "Yep, everything looks good." And then the next period, they took off double that amount that I was awarded through finishing my program. So that was cool.
Yes, so with AmeriCorps you get a living allowance plus an education award, and at most places, I know it's true here because I would know, and so would some of these folks. You also get, if you're a full-time member, you can get health care, and the premiums are covered by the program, so it's health care free to you. There's just co-pays that are involved. And there's also child care, which has been utilized by some members in the past when they have children that have done this AmeriCorps at Peckham. So there's lots of benefits to it that can be taken advantage of. I think to do a service learning program, those are great benefits. It's all relative, but I think there's a lot of incentive there too. So, all right. Anyone else want to add anything?
I'll take it. So I'm actually going to do a bold take on this one.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that being part of this program is almost a necessity. So what I mean by that,
What do you mean?
yeah. So what I mean by that is I really feel like the program filled a hole that really should be. Let me think of the right word to use for this first. I think the AmeriCorps program really fills a hole that should be utilized more in the United States. I feel like, now aside from the really great things that we do for communities, something that really should be done more, all the fantastic perks that come with it, it's really, really good for the development aspect, or the personal development assets. I can't even talk. It's really good for the personal development aspect.
Right.
And, I really feel like, aside from learning things that maybe other people don't have the opportunity to learn in their life just yet because it's something under the radar or something that everybody just kind of takes for granted that we never really learn about, it's also really good for just developing your professional personality as well, too. I really, really feel like the program definitely helped me out with all of that stuff. And I really think if it wasn't for the program, I probably would be in a position where I still wouldn't have developed some of these things. And so I really feel like that's something that should be utilized more at more workplaces, at just a whole lot of stuff, because I feel like it's something that's really useful.
Yeah, like in the nonprofit world, you could expand that. So thank you, site supervisors. That's for sure.
Alex is one of them.
Oh, thank you. Finally. No, that's really true though, because then you're learning office etiquette, email etiquette, and all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of,
Which we
I'm
cover
sure,
in our own.
I'm sure site supervisors can speak to this too, where you're like, why did my member just send that? And then you have to go and have that conversation of like, this is the way that you should approach things, and developing that way. It's really helpful.
Yeah, in a service learning environment, there's a lot of grace that's afforded and given to the person that's going through that experience, more so than oftentimes in a professional role that's already like entry level, where they're just expected to you should have these skills, and if you don't, you have to learn on the job, which isn't always maybe the best thing in the world. Yeah. Either way, it happens. It's beneficial either way. It doesn't matter how you do it, but there's like a grace period, or something that happens when you do a service learning year in an AmeriCorps type program.
It probably also, sorry, Reese. I think it
Okay.
also like helps in, I just keep thinking about you talking about how it's like it should be a necessity.
Yeah.
And you might be right, because then it also teaches you to be more compassionate for people
Mhm.
and, meet them where they're at and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, I mean, people could,
You're not going to see that
society-
in the profit world, that's for sure. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty much like, people will get their head stamped in so that people can climb the ladder. Like, people are
Yeah.
just climbing over each other, just knocking others out of the way just to get to where they want. And this whole world, this nonprofit, this AmeriCorps world is completely different. We're all like
It's different.
unified with each other.
Well,
It is different.
I think one key aspect too that you touched on a little bit was that this is an opportunity to get that experience before you're expected to have it,
Yeah.
which we don't really see a lot of opportunities for in this world anymore. We have a lot of job opportunities out there that require a certain level of skill, education, and experience. And if you're starting your, career path over, or if you're jumping into the professional field for the first time, you're not going to have that experience. And so ultimately, you're not going to be the best candidate for a lot of things. And jumping into the role of being an AmeriCorps member gives you the opportunity to test the waters on things and have that grace period where you learn those little things that you're expected to have in other roles before you apply. And you can develop it over your service year, and not be scolded for not knowing how to properly send an email, or I don't know how to use the fax machine, or the small things that your site supervisor can guide you on that professional experience, because it is service learning. So it definitely is something that is missing in a lot of different roles. And luckily in the human services field, where we operate a lot more on compassion, this role gives that. It'd be cool if we saw it in other fields too, where you could kind of dip your feet into it and learn the things that you're expected to already know, that we know that we don't really have opportunities for.
Yeah, and we see that with internships. I mean, there's different ways that people go about doing that, in both, we're not selling an internship today, that's right. But, whether we're in for-profit or nonprofit, there are ways that we do that, but it is a unique situation. It's a commitment that you make for one whole year. So it's an experience that has this finite, beginning and end point. You know that you have this much time to get out of it whatever you're going to get out of it, which for some people is a great many things, and for others it's not. It's because it's not for them, and that's what they learn, and they don't pursue this anymore. And they're like, okay, I don't want to work with people with disabilities. That's not my niche. That's not where I'm meant to be. I'm going to do something else, and that's great, because that's what you should learn. That's service learning, and there should be. You would hope that you can get skills for your career that come out of it, and I would think it would give you a step up, at least for the next job you apply to. As you're saying, I mean, I'm hearing you all say that, but that's the way it should be. And if it doesn't, that's sad, and then it wasn't for you, and that's fine too. So, but yeah, these are all really good points.
I think it's also important to mention that AmeriCorps isn't just for adults who are coming out of college or in college. It's also for individuals who maybe they wanted to take a break from their career and came in our service year. We had Miss Barb, and she taught me so many things and was great. So
Yes, so AmeriCorps is for all ages and all places, and many times it's for a transition in career. I think Kat could speak to that. You kind of briefly alluded to it earlier, but you weren't fresh out of college or anything. You already had another career going on, another job.
Yeah, it was a nice time for me. I think some people in my family didn't agree with that. They were like, "Oh my gosh, you're not going to be making very much money. Like, what's the plan?" Yeah. But it allowed so many more opportunities for me to transition into a new career and build on some skills that maybe I already had and gain some new skills of working with people with disabilities and more of that one-on-one coaching aspect that I really appreciated. And I just also wanted to kind of talk or build on what Malia was saying earlier about your personal growth journey. I absolutely feel that it was a whole year of learning for me and growing and learning more about myself and what some of my shortcomings were. So I had a very patient and supportive site supervisor and program director, James, that was able to kind of guide me. Yes, James Medaski. that guided me through that entire year, which it meant a lot to me. It was more than just a traditional job. It really felt, I don't know what the word is, but it felt like something more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think about other people. What was how you were married, right, when you joined AmeriCorps? So you were already, so everyone comes from different places. You're freshly graduated?
2 years removed, yep.
Still in school?
Had graduated
For
for more than a year. And
for about a
just
year or
was-
two? Yeah.
Didn't know if I was doing the graduate student route or
Yeah.
the job.
And then you mentioned all these other people like Barb and other people.
Yeah.
There've been many people over the years who it's a great job for it. Like if you're retiring, but you still want to do things in the community, but you don't want to work a job anymore.
Any regrets or moments when you said, "What have I got myself into?" That people
Yes.
could be
Yes.
listening who are thinking about this.
Yeah, right when I started, I was like, I got to do this for a whole year, and I'm committed to this for a whole year. What if I hate it? What if this sucks?
Yeah.
I was really worried about I'm signing off on this, but I mean that very quickly changed. And when I got into it, I was like, oh, this is great, and a year went by really fast. So
I had a month when I had a scare about my personal finances. Aside from the massive monthly student loans I have to pay off, I had a month where I was also in the ER, and then I had a very expensive car repair, all three of those at the same time. So
wow.
I think the combination of those was probably around like $3,600, and I was in a pure panic of how in the world am I going to cover that?
AmeriCorps is not going to cut it. I have to quit. But you didn't.
No, I did not. I kept going. Yep.
I had a similar situation of emergency where I came to work and I had a really bad sore tooth, and it ended up being a big thing. But thankfully I did have insurance that helped with that. But that was a moment of oh no, I hope this isn't too expensive.
Yes. Gosh, did you have the Cigna?
Yes.
So you had AmeriCorps insurance?
I did.
How about what would you say to someone who says either financially or just chronologically, I can't afford a year of my life to do this?
There are a ton of resources, like YouTube videos, which I watched a bunch before joining the program, that were this is how you survive on an AmeriCorps budget.
Yes.
And they were so helpful because they were just little things that you could tweak here and there or take advantage of during
There's a
your
ton of
program
YouTube
year.
content on AmeriCorps experiences, good and bad, and
Yes.
why would this be for you, and all that. Yeah, and then even how to live on a living allowance and all that. So very good. And there's flexible options probably too. So you did halftime.
Yes, I did do halftime.
Okay.
So there were flexible options for if you were looking for not full-time.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to have another job that was out in the community to where I wasn't fully here serving the whole period. And that ended up working out really well in my favor. I worked at besides serving, I did grocery delivery.
Oh, I remember this now.
I did a bunch of,
Screwed that
I was
up.
able to have other job opportunities besides just my service. So that added more things to my resume, and it helped with the level of stipend and
You can
having
kind of
the
supplement
other
the
having the
living
other
allowance,
income. But I would say it's definitely something to look into before you just sign the paper, so that you can
Right.
have proper planning.
It needs
in
to be an
place.
informed decision.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And to deliberate. So, for example, when we interview people, and some of you guys have taken part in this with me. We make it very clear that it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world, and that you want to take a good couple days to think about it, because some people, they leave the interview, they're like, I'm ready to do this, and it's like, yes, but maybe you should wait a minute and just think about it and weigh the options and kind of calculate it, budget it, whatever, project into the future to make sure that you can kind of weather this year of AmeriCorps, because that's just being realistic and being proactive, which is what we want to do with the clients that we're serving anyways when we coach them on the same types of things. So if we want to help people, we have to know how to help ourselves, and that's an important aspect too.
I would also remind people that it is only 1 year commitment, and along that, year of service that you're doing, you're setting yourself up for long-term career success if you're utilizing this as a launching pad. So over the long term, if you wanted to speak with your long-term self, it might be the more financially and personally responsible decision to take that year where it might be a little more difficult with your finances, but over the long term, you'd be a lot more happy with your career choice, as well as, your long-term finances.
Are you saying that a year of service might be sacrifice?
I would call it an investment.
Yes, I like that one better.
Do you know about what percentage of AmeriCorps people end up getting a job at Peckham?
Oh, I can tell you that 126 people have served in AmeriCorps state and national programs at Peckham, and 19 have been hired in. And 5 of them are sitting here. You have to distinguish yourself to be hired in here. You don't get hired in. We take on 14 people a year that are all brand new, right? So if you take on 14 people a year, usually what happens is the people who are the best at building their network, exhibiting professional behavior, making connections with the clients and with other staff, those are the people that end up being successful and staying. There is no free pass into Peckham through AmeriCorps. You have to actually distinguish yourself on some level, and that is the way it should be.
It reminds me of when I was having trouble getting clients to actually come to meetings and make sure that we were communicating and scheduling. I went to Alex and she said, walk out onto the work floor and go find your client. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, we can do that. We can just walk out there. And so I think people that do things like that are more successful.
Yeah, and also with staff, engaging them and wanting to know what they do, being interested, learning from them, and being willing to take the risk to meet people, be social. That's all part of learning how to navigate a career. So that's again, it's all part of service learning. So, and then people that figure that out, we talk about it. We talk about how to do these things, but that's a hard thing to learn for some people. And if you can do it, you probably end up being more successful. It's just the way it is.
I will say there a good chunk of knowledge that I was able to take from my experience and hold it for coming back into my role now was I was placed over with our CAMWA group out in Charlotte, and I got to learn a lot about their programs that they were running over there, and what some of the different programs did and who was eligible, and also got to interact with the team members who worked on the manufacturing side of the building.
You got both, yeah.
And then we had a lot of clientele come through who would do GED training and classes and stuff like that. And so I got to absorb this resource that was both within Peckham, but also a community resource in a sense. And it was something that I got to bring with me when I came back as something I could refer my team members to. Because it was helpful for some individuals who came through. So I thought that was interesting as far as a resource gathering as well as connections, because I was able to utilize my old my old supervisor as a connection to getting team members support.
Yeah.
And I got to reach out to her because she's still here too.
Yeah, I think people so we have a lot of community partners, and one of our strongest partnerships for years since for some programs predating 2004, but 2004 for a lot of our current programs is Capri Michigan Works. So CAMW with an exclamation point. Very important to utilize all those resources because it's all vocational. Vocational training is the centerpiece. So whether it's rehabilitation in this setting where we give the job to somebody and teach, or in that case, helping them find employment or get more education to get retraining or whatever it might be, that's more of the CAMW piece. Then it's just a focus on employment and opportunity. So, yeah, pretty cool. Neat that you could mix the two things.
And I kind of I remember having to fight for the opportunity to support the
Both.
Peckham side.
Yeah.
Because we had a vacancy there where there
Yeah.
wasn't training being had. And then at the latter half of my service, I was able to do a lot more interaction with them in classes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was cool to kind of touch base with more than one population because the barriers were way different.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to think about it
Yeah.
differently when you were training them.
Yeah.
I can second that because I was
Yeah.
covering Charlotte for a period of time too.
I know.
So.
All right, so that was a really good conversation. So that was thank you so much for taking part. So letting people know any prospective applicants or new AmeriCorps members that might be interested in AmeriCorps serving a year of AmeriCorps at Peckham in the Economic Opportunity Coaching Program. Again, award-winning program for an award-winning company. I think if you're interested in applying at Peckham to be in AmeriCorps, you should check it out.